Reach on PSVR2 and PCVR is a fantastic VR game, when it works. What do I mean by that? Well, long story short, the game itself is awesome. It has the best movement and traversal system I have ever seen in a VR game. Period, end of discussion. However, Reach is currently plagued with technical issues and even game-breaking bugs. The kind of bugs that can block your progression, and even do something I never thought was possible. Have your save data removed due to corruption.
Is this a lift? Weird. Further and further down.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at nDream's latest VR game, Reach, on both PSVR2 and PCVR. The game is out now on all major VR platforms, so we're gonna talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good things first. Reach looks incredible. Whether you're playing this game on PS5 or on PC, you're going to love the visuals of Reach, that's for sure. I loved the art style, the lighting is awesome, and the environments look amazing. It might not have the most detailed environments compared to other games, but visually speaking, what's on offer here is more than enough to get you in the mood. The PCVR version in its epic preset looks noticeably sharper, as you would expect. But the PSVR2 version is not that far behind. It holds up really well. I actually got confirmation from the devs that it runs at max resolution, quote-unquote with scalable foveated rendering only when needed, with a max scale of 1.7. And for those of you who worry about Miura, I'm here to assure you that it's not noticeable at all. However, when it comes to colors, I was actually surprised to find that the colors in the PCVR version look more crisp. It's usually the other way around, since, most games on PSVR2 support HDR, but not this one. Apparently, Reach does not support HDR on PSVR2, which is a bizarre choice in my opinion. Still, even with no HDR support, the colors on the PSVR2 version should look identical to the PCVR version, so I have no idea what's going on there. Anyways, visually, the game looks great on both platforms, with PCVR taking the crown, especially when you factor in that the PCVR version does not have reprojection, unlike the PSVR2 version, which runs at 60 FPS reprojected to 120. So if you can't handle the reprojection on PSVR2 and you have a gaming PC, definitely play it on PC. I absolutely loved the movement and traversal in Reach. This is unlike anything else I have ever experienced in VR. nDream's elevation really cooked here. I said before that I think nDreams are going to redefine VR movement and traversal based off the trailers, and I was right. They absolutely did. They just raised the bar, and I'm so glad they were able to pull it off. Quote-unquote, full body awareness and true-to-life interactions deliver unmatched presence in every moment. Freely jump, climb, and zipline across breathtaking environments with smooth, intuitive traversal designed for VR. This is how nDreams describes Reach. 100% they are not overselling it. This is the truth. Just like Shuhei Yoshida said,
The freedom of movement and freedom of action in 3D environment has always been a challenging thing to do in VR games because of comfortability of people playing the game in VR. However, Reach has reached to the level that any game players would be able to experience this freedom of movement and freedom of action in 3D, real 3D environment. And it's amazing.
every move in Reach feels so natural. Every jump, every climb, using the grapple hook, the boost pads, the mag gloves, using the shield as a traversal tool, I can go on and on about how everything you do in Reach feels like second nature. It just takes a bit of practice, and before you know it, you're doing all this crazy movement and traversal without even thinking about it. It's very clear that this was the main focus of a developer when working on this game, and I'm happy to report that they absolutely nailed it. But of course, great movement and traversal are nothing without great level design. And boy oh boy, you're not ready for Farah. I'm honestly shocked by how great the level design is in Reach. This truly feels like a place where an ancient yet more advanced civilization would live. It is so complex, with a big emphasis on verticality, and you will feel lost sometimes, yet you will love every second of it. Trust me, this is coming from someone who hates feeling lost in VR games, and hates puzzles, which are fantastic by the way, but still, I couldn't help but feel astonished by what Endreams was able to achieve in terms of level design, puzzles, and challenges. The scale of some of these levels is insane. I mean, just look at this.
Oh my god. That statue is massive.
And would you believe mobile?
That's a living statue.
No, but it was built with movement in mind. Once upon a time, features like these rotated constantly, providing Ferens with an ever-changing view.
I loved the upgrades in Reach, and I'm talking about the essential upgrades that you are required to find in order to progress, just like the grapple hook for example. Each and every one of these upgrades is a game changer in terms of providing new traversal options, unlike the optional upgrades, which might be significant, like improving your health, etc. But to me, that's very boring, so I didn't bother looking for them much. I did like the limited time trials though, in which you've got to find and hit 3 glyphs before the time runs out. But as for what that gives you, I really couldn't care less. But for those of you who care about this stuff, rest assured, there are plenty of upgrades and there is a handful of collectibles as well. The story of Reach was better than expected, don't get me wrong, this is not The Last of Us. But for a VR game, this is actually pretty good. It has some depth. You'll encounter 2 NPCs that play a major role in the game. There is one story set piece that I'm certainly not going to forget. It has its moments, that's what I'm trying to say. It's not the best story out there, but certainly not the worst either. And the voice acting is decent. But keep in mind that I don't know how the story ends, since I couldn't make it to the last level of the game, due to a game-breaking bug. More on that later, but yeah. For the most part, the storytelling is alright.
But, well, you know how she is. Remember those old races we used to have? Up the tower. Maybe I should climb it. For old time's sake.
Alright, we talked about the good. Now it's time to talk about the bad. And I'll start with the performance of the PCVR version. Unlike on PS5, the game has constant stuttering issues on PC. And I'm running the game on a 5090-9800X 3D build, so it's definitely not a hardware issue. Also, there is something wrong about the hand position in the PCVR version, which makes aiming with guns an impossible task. Something else I found annoying, and this is on both platforms, the settings reset every time you launch the game. On PSVR2, well, first of all, there is no reason why they shouldn't run at 90 FPS natively without reprojection. The developers chose to use dynamic foveated rendering quote-unquote only when needed, and I say they could have used it from start to finish to get the game to run at least at 90 FPS. In my opinion, a game like Reach should be played without reprojection. Subtitles get stuck sometimes. The protagonist's voice sounds muffled during the entire game on PSVR2, unlike on PC where she sounds completely fine. During combat, sometimes there is no audio except for the enemy's sounds, which makes the game sound very cheap. The eye tracking selection in the menu on PSVR2 is not very accurate, but thankfully you can choose to select with your controllers by holding down the trigger. If you get lost, don't rely too much on the map, because it's not very helpful. The utilization of haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, and headset feedback is minimal to non-existent. There is so much untapped potential when it comes to the PSVR2 sensory features. It's actually mind-blowing that they went for the bare minimum. And of course, you're not getting any enhancements whatsoever if you're playing on PS5 Pro. But wait, it gets much worse. You see, the bow and its different arrow types are awesome, but the combat is not. To put it simply, the combat feels like an afterthought in this game, and that's mainly because the enemy AI is so basic. They don't feel threatening at all. The way they move looks very silly. They just take a couple of steps and then stand still in open fire, trying to shoot you. It's like there is zero coordination between them whatsoever, and sometimes they don't even look at you. Playing the game on normal difficulty felt too easy, and I didn't feel challenged at any point except perhaps for the very end, where there were plenty of them shooting at me at the same time. So the enemy AI needs a lot of work in my opinion, because right now the combat is not fun at all. But wait, it still gets worse. I have no pleasure in saying this, but guys, Reach has game-breaking bugs on both PSVR2 and PCVR. You see, I stopped playing the PCVR version at level 6, due to this thing not moving as it should, which completely blocked my progression. Since the game offers a single save point that you can load, which is always the latest checkpoint that you have reached, the only fix was to reinstall the game and clear all the save data, which I obviously didn't do because a human being has a life and needs to sleep. Something similar happened with the PSVR2 version, but thankfully at a much later point. First of all, the game started to randomly crash in level 12, but I still managed to get to level 13. The game has 14 levels by the way, which should take you from 7 to 10 hours to finish. And the way I see it, there is no replayability value unless you want to experience the game again. But getting back to the topic, after the random crashes in level 12, this happened in level 13. I'm not gonna show you other bugs in the same area because I don't want to spoil a major encounter. But yeah, there were plenty of bugs, plenty of crashes at the same point during the same encounter at the same level. And after tens of crashes and me trying my best to see the game to its end, this happened. The game crashed for a final time and took away my saved data, which is something I have never seen before, and therefore I was not able to finish the game. So yeah guys, needless to say, Reach is not ready. I don't recommend playing it at launch. It would be in your best interest if you wait until the game is fixed. You know, at least until you're able to play it from start to finish without risking losing hours of your progression. And then it will be an easy 9 out of 10. A must-play VR title because fundamentally this is a great VR game that sets a new benchmark in VR movement and reversal. But for now, with all these technical issues and bugs and the lackluster PSVR2 support, I'm afraid I cannot give it more than 5 out of 10, which is probably a very generous score when we're talking about game-breaking bugs. And that's gonna have to do it for this review guys. Thank you for watching, and for more VR news, reviews and discussions, make sure you stick with MBG.